Okay, so part three of westward expansion is the political expansion of the United States. And this is an interesting idea in that the government needed to acquire land, so to speak, in order for, in theory at least, in order for westward expansion to take place. But, and so ideally the government would have wanted like the original 13 colonies, and then they would have wanted a wave to pass across the country and have it be a linear expansion bit by bit across the country. The government would have preferred, but really that's not how expansion took place at all. It wasn't nice and neat. In fact, it took place in fits and spurts across the country and in sometimes unpredictable ways. And so nevertheless, we still have the political expansion of the country, which is the topic of right now. And however, then we have the actual expansion of the country. So those are two different concepts. So if we take a look at this map right here, if you recall, the way the United States acquired land is sometimes decent, and a lot of times really questionable, to put it nicely. And we and you are going to have to figure out a way of dealing with that with your kids, especially in the way that history is taught from many perspectives today. We used to get away with just writing history from really the white man's perspective, and that meant sweeping a lot of ugliness under the rug, and that defeats much of the purpose of the study of history. So in any case, let's take a look at that. We started with our original 13 colonies, and then of course, semi-miraculously won the American Revolution and gained all the land up to the Mississippi River right here. And then the United States doubled in size with this purchase of the Louisiana Territory in 1803. Just, 1783 to 1803, 20 years after the signing of the Treaty of Paris at the end of the American Revolution. Just 20 years later, the United States technically doubled in size by purchasing this enormous swath of land from Napoleon. And Napoleon needed money to win all of his wars over in Europe, and he thought he was going to win them, and then he thought he was going to come back and conquer the United States. So he sold the Louisiana Territory for an insanely cheap $15 million, and then his wars didn't work out quite so well in Europe, and the United States got a good deal on its hands, at least as far as the French were concerned. And it isn't surprising. We should understand that this is named after King Louis of France, or it was Louis the 16th, I believe, probably some earlier, 15th and 14th for that matter. But we have down in New Orleans. Orleans is in France. And we have Des Moines, Iowa, which is on the Mississippi River, and or near the Mississippi. And we have lots of the Marquette, Michigan, for instance, and we have lots of French place names over here. And of course, the French colonies extended all the way over into Quebec, and right on through, even this Ohio. Detroit is a French name, for instance. So a lot of this territory was initially French. It's also interesting to note that Six Flags started in Texas, and it was named after the 6 national flags that Texas was once under. And part of Texas was part of the French flag prior to the Louisiana Purchase. Of course, most of this doesn't really matter because there were so few Europeans in this area that really they were only acquiring it in name only, Native American tribes were living in very large numbers in this portion of the country. So that sort of fits our description back here of the political expansion. It was political, but it wasn't actually the case on the ground. So, after the Louisiana Territory, Florida is purchased from the Spanish in 1819. And that one wasn't so bad. That's not what I'm looking for there at all. The purchase of Florida wasn't so unethical, so that was a pretty decent addition. Texas, on the other hand, was quite questionable. Boy, okay.